Today it's time to look in depth at another state for 2024. This time we've got the Hawkeye state. That's going to be Iowa. If we start off looking at the left map, those are the presidential changes between 2012 and 16. And as always, there are a lot of red rightward moving lines on this map, and Iowa is going to be no exception. There's a tiny bit of blue, but for the most part, this is a rightward lurch. And the right map are the presidential changes between 2016 and 20. And this tells a completely different story. This time there's very little red on the map. Iowa does have a few counties that shifted right, but there's also a lot of vertical, slow-moving blue lines. So this state's 6 electoral votes are not expected to be all that competitive in the upcoming election. But we're going to take a look at its wild ride from the days of supporting Obama up to the present where it's behind Trump. So as always, let's dive into some of the background, and we're going to start on Wikipedia and go back to 2012. Back then, only 12 years ago, Barack Obama won the state with 52% of the vote. Mitt Romney was over 46%. And it's not as wide of a margin as Obama's first win, but Iowa still supported the Democrat by more than 5 points. If you look at the county map, it's definitely split. There's a good mix of lighter red and lighter blue counties. Now, if we go in closer, we can take a look at some of these counties. So from this, we can take away that eastern Iowa was more supportive of Obama, western Iowa more supportive of Romney. Let's take a closer look at some of the more notable counties. The most populous county toward the center of the state, this is Polk County, that has the state capital of Des Moines. This county is more urban, and it supported Obama in this election by well over double digits. The second most populous county is Lynn, and that has Cedar Rapids. And back then it also easily voted for Obama, even by a wider margin than Polk. The bluest county in this state is Johnson County, that has the University of Iowa, and that's also the only county that Nikki Haley was able to win in the recent 2024 primary. She won it by just 1 vote. Now there's other counties, we'll come back to some of them in a moment, but there are a lot of blue-collar workers in this state, especially along the Mississippi River. A lot of these counties have a large base of manufacturing or agriculture, and yet again Obama still winning over a lot of those voters. So what happened 4 years later? Well, in that election, it's a completely different result. This time, Donald Trump wins the state by over 9 points. He's over 51% of the vote to Hillary Clinton's 41.7. This time we do have a lot of third-party support. Gary Johnson led the way with almost 4%. And if you look at the county map, it looks very different than just 4 years prior. If we look at the most populous county of Polk, and for reference, at the time it still had under 500,000 people, but Hillary won this county by more than 11 points. In Lynn County, home of Cedar Rapids, she also won that easily by 9 points. And south of that, we've got Johnson County. This is still overwhelmingly blue. Hillary getting close to a 40-point margin here. So what happened to these other counties that were voting for Obama? Well, let's look at Scott County. That's the third most populous county. That has Davenport. This is a more industrial and manufacturing county. Hillary was able to win the county with under 47% of the vote, but Trump was only 1.5 points behind. Something else on a glance you might notice when comparing to the previous map. Most of those counties last time were light blue, and now they're light red. But also in the western part of the state, most of those counties last time were lighter red. This time they're dark red. That means Trump this time was clearing 60% of the vote in most of those counties. So overall, a significant shift toward the right in only 4 years. We'll look at some more of these shifts in a moment, but let's jump ahead 4 more years to the last election in 2020. This time Trump wins the state again. The margin is slightly reduced, but Trump did boost his support up 2 points to 53.1. Biden was also able to boost his support up to just under 45. So they both increased their support. Biden did it more. A lot of that is going to be from the reduction in third-party vote. This time the leader was Joe Jorgensen with just over 1%. We'll look at the counties in just a minute, but if we go down here and sort by the total number of votes cast, we can see a familiar pattern that we've seen in other states, and that's going to be an urban-rural divide. The 5 most populous counties were all won by Biden. Only 2 of them had more than 100,000 votes cast, but Biden won both of those by double digits. Of course, Johnson County is the extreme outlier at over 40 points, but he also still won Scott and Blackhawk counties. The most populous county Trump won was Dallas, and that was a narrow 2-point margin. And the least populous county that Biden was able to win was Story. He got that by 17, and every single one of these counties under Story, they all went to Donald Trump. So Biden wins 6 counties, and Trump wins 93. And as you scroll down, you can see a lot of these margins are gigantic, many of them getting over 40 and even 50 points. So let's take a closer look at some of these county shifts. For that, we're going to get on Ballotpedia. Now we'll start in Polk, again that has the capital of Des Moines, and it also shows about 15% of the population lives in this county. However, it's actually not that different than what it was back in 2012. Both Biden Biden and Trump within 1 point of what Obama and Romney did. So one potential concern for Trump in this state could be the suburban Des Moines vote. So if we look at some of these counties that have gained population to the west, we've got Dallas County, and that was the most populous that Trump was able to win. He got it by about 2 points. But if you look at the trends here, just 4 years earlier, Trump won this county by 9.5 points. So that is a significant leftward shift. And north of Polk County is Story. That's one where Biden did better than Obama and significantly better than Hillary. It's a 6.5 point increase from 16. Meanwhile, Trump only went up 1.5 there and still did worse than Romney. If we take a look at Lynn County, Biden goes up over 5 points while Trump goes up only about 0.5 point. Those could be a couple of areas that are moving away from Trump when the state overall has moved hard toward the right. Now, if you want to see the dramatic shifts, then we can go along the Mississippi River. We can start in Dubuque. Obama won the county by 15 points. Then Trump flipped it in 16 and expanded his margin in 20. Clinton County voted for Obama with 60% of the vote. But last time, Biden did the exact same as Hillary did in 16, while Trump increased his support by over 5 points. And in Scott County, this was not at all competitive back in 12. But the last 2 elections were close, and Trump is going to be looking to flip this county. And it's a similar story for a lot of these rural red counties, even the ones that voted for Romney back in 12. As we go west, you can see how dramatically Trump has increased his margins. Some of these counties, he now even hits 70%. It's hard to imagine that Obama was kind of competitive in some of these places just 8 years prior. The last county we'll take a look at on here is Woodbury, and that is home to Sioux City. So that's a more populated county in the western part of the state. Obama carried it in 12. Trump massively flipped it in 16. In 20, Trump was stagnant while Biden increased his support 4 points. So if you want to get a closer look at some of this vote, we can get on this 2016 map, and it starts off showing you the county margins. But if you look closer, it also shows you the precinct level data. So you can go all the way in on a place like Des Moines and see the familiar red and blue urban-rural divide. Hillary overwhelmingly winning every precinct in the city. The further out you go, the lighter the blue gets. Eventually it turns to light red, and then once you get way out, the red becomes darker. Now we can do the same thing for 2020, and as we can see, there's a lot of red in this state with a little bit of blue in certain cities. But if you want to see the shifts between 16 and 20, we can click right here. Now we see a little bit of a different story. Even some of the more rural counties in the western part of the state, they had a little bit of a shift toward Biden. And if you look at the Des Moines area, it's not all completely bad for Trump if you look at some of these eastern precincts, but west and north, those are the suburbs. They've clearly moved toward Biden. And if we go out to some of those more working class counties along the eastern part of the state, some of this data is missing, so that's unfortunate. But overall, once you even out the red and the blue shifts, Trump did just a little bit worse than he did in 16, but overall, the state still not really competitive at all for Biden. Now, if you want yet another way to look at some of these shifts, we can get on this map here that has the red and the blue arrows. That'll show you which way the county shifted between 16 and 20. And the bigger the arrow, the bigger the shift. And this kind of matches up with the map we just saw. There are a lot of red arrows on here, but there's also a good amount of blue. And you can click on any one of these arrows to get a more detailed breakdown. One county we haven't looked at yet is Blackhawk. That has the city of Waterloo. And you can see between 16 and 20, both Biden and Trump gained raw votes. But Biden gained a lot more at 3,400 to Trump's 2,100. Now the thing to take note of here is the reduction in third-party vote between 16 and 20. It was down to just 2%, which is 5.3 less than it was in 16. But throughout all those shifts, Biden went up 3.5% while Trump went up 1.8. So the result there is going to be a net shift toward Biden. Now if you want to get an idea of the third-party vote shift statewide, we can get back on Ballotpedia, and we can see that between 16 and 20, it went down a significant 5.1% overall, and the entire statewide vote shifted in Biden's favor by 3.2, as well as in Trump's favor by 1.9. So they both went up, but the net result was Biden gained 1.2. So with the reduction in third-party vote, it seemed like Biden was the bigger beneficiary. Now another factor to consider for the upcoming election is going to be the turnout. 2020 had a lot of increased turnout nationally. Iowa is no exception. It wasn't quite as dramatic as some other places, but you can see almost all the counties had an increase in turnout, including here in Dallas County, where it went up a massive 45%. Now, yet another thing related to turnout for this upcoming election is going to be the turnout and the shifts among specific demographics. So if you take a look at the national exit polling from 2020, this will show you all the shifts for Biden Biden and Trump among the specific subgroups. You could take a look at age, race, religion, education. There's a few surprising numbers in there. Some of those could factor into this state for this election. But if you just focus on Iowa, here's the demographic breakdown for Biden and Trump. Now, Iowa is a state that has a decent amount of evangelicals. There you can see Trump won them by 51. But the national shifts on the previous screen, it was actually Biden who did better with this subgroup, comparing 16 to 20. So this time I'm going to skip over pulling up the educational attainment by county, but most people seem to understand that higher income and higher educated voters generally are more supportive of Democrats. Meanwhile, less educated and more working class voters tend to be more supportive of Republicans. Iowa is not known for being a wealthy and higher educated state, so on a glance, that matches up with Trump significantly increasing his support here. Now, the last thing we're going to do is take a look at the polling accuracy back in 2020. So for that, we get back on Wikipedia. So in the aggregate polling, Trump was in the lead by 1 to 2 points. However, Trump won the state by over 8 points, so that is a fairly significant underestimation of Trump's support. If you look at the individual polls, this state was looking competitive. Some of them even had Biden in the lead. The ones that had Trump in the lead were by a much lower margin than the actual result, except for this Des Moines Register poll. That one did have Trump up by 7, so not too bad considering the rest. So what is the conclusion for Iowa? Well, this is a state that's been rediscovering its political identity over the past decade and a half. It's come a long way from supporting Obama twice comfortably to supporting Trump by big margins. It's followed a similar trajectory as Ohio and much of the Rust Belt, and its status as a swing state has pretty much been revoked. In other statewide offices, Republicans control all of them except for one. The state House and Senate are overwhelmingly Republican. They have 2 Republican U.S. senators, and all 4 of their congressional seats are held by Republicans. Now, this is not the reddest state in the country, but has the right demographic mix and balance of urban and rural voters for the Trump brand have been able to resonate with so many voters here. It's kind of a state a lot of people don't think about. They just drive through it on their way to other states. And the blue-collar vote used to be won by Democrats, but not anymore. It's also a state where the polling has been pretty bad, but you never know what's going to happen next time. All indications look like this state is going to go to Trump. As of right now, it looks like the question is going to be, can it get over 10 points for Trump? I don't think Democrats should completely forget about this state. It was only a couple of elections ago that a lot of those voters were open to the Democrats' message. My guess is some of the economics are still appealing, but on the social and the cultural front, that's where, for the most part, Democrats have completely left those voters behind. Trump has swooped in and, for the time being, has made this a moderately red state. So that's an overview of the recent political history for Iowa. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this state? Are you surprised by how it voted for Obama twice and moved sharply toward the right? And what do you think about some of the counties in this state? Which ones are you going to be taking a look at in this election? And what do you think about the polling? Are they going to get it right this time, or is it also going to be way off? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.